What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here bringing you some more BT6 coverage. Now this is going to be a match that's between myself on the right playing Agumon Rookie Rush and then my opponent on the left playing 3 Musketeers. Now my version of the Rookie Rush is a little bit different than most, but nothing too crazy. You'll just see a couple cards that you may not see in other Rookie Rush lists, but nothing too crazy. But my opponent's going to go ahead and put me at 3 with the Itmon, so I'm going to go ahead and take that as an opportunity to go ahead and play 2 Arauramon, putting my opponent at 1 and getting 2 5k rookies on board, which are going to be very powerful. A little bit hard for my opponent to get rid of, but they're going to go ahead and put me all the way to 10 with the Beelstar just to go ahead and pop both of my Arauramons, which is a bit unfortunate. 10 memory is great to have, but with this deck, it's really hard for me to even fill it out. So I'm going to go ahead and play starter deck tie here to buff up my Greymon and then play a Starmons to pop the Itmon. So that way when I swing in with my Greymon right here, I don't potentially just die first check to a Happy Bullet showering. But I am going to go ahead and hit the Trump Sword on the first check, which is a bit unfortunate because that's going to take out my Starmons, and then I'm just going to go ahead and play a couple Agumons here, getting my board as wide as I possibly can so that way I can just start going into the Rookie Rush mode and also threaten to have it so an Agumon stays on board and I can go up to Bond next turn. So my opponent's going to have to worry about that a little bit, but fortunately I don't have it quite yet. So my opponent's just going to go for the Zwart, bringing back the Gazi and the other Itmon with no effect on the on play there. But now my opponent has a very scary board because they are just going so wide that if I don't really hit anything in security when they start swinging in, I might just be in trouble. But I'm going to go ahead and swing in with the Greymon, getting 2 more checks. My opponent will hit the Gavelschwarmer, which will go straight into their hand, swinging the Agumon in, and then hitting the Nailbone, which is going to bring out another Itmon, which is only even more problematic because now my opponent, if they do want to swing all the way in, then I am going to have to hit something in security to stop this. Now, what my opponent doesn't know is that I do have a different Agumon list, so I am actually not playing any option cards, but my opponent is going to just assume that I am playing option cards like a lot of other lists, so they are going to swing in and pop 2 of my Digimon there, which makes it so now that they only have 4 swings to my 4 checks. So at this point I am safe to live next turn, and then I will likely just win because if I have the Agumon in hand, I can just promote my Agumon, go into it. If they do play a blocker, I can just pop it as I swing in. And so now it's a little bit of a tricky situation. My opponent's going to have to, no matter what, clear this Agumon off the board and get a blocker up, because if they don't, then just promoting my Agumon itself will win the game. But they don't have the DP on board to swing over this Agumon, as it is a little bit stronger than the other rookies that you would normally see, like this Gazi and this Itmon. So my opponent's thinking about what they're going to do, what their options are. They're looking in their trash to try and hit a Nailbone, but they're not having any blockers that they need in there, so they're in a pretty rough situation. Looking again, just what are their options. Obviously has the Nailbone and wanting to play Nailbone, but they are just going to go ahead and scoop it up there because they don't have the cards. But I do show that I did have the Bond in hand, so even if they had the blocker with the Vilemon off the Nailbone, then I would have been able to go up into Bond and then just pop that blocker and swing in for game. So had that sealed up there a little bit. But if my opponent did have some blockers in the trash, that could have went a little bit differently when we saw those Zwarts coming out and whatnot, only playing rookies. So we're going to have to be a little more cautious of that and try to get as many checks in as early as possible before we get to the Bond. Now, I have the Arauramon out, which is a fantastic start because being the 5k rookie, there is a high chance versus my opponent of being able to survive. But I'm going to swing in with the Greymon and hit the Fly Bullet on the first check, which they will choose to take it out, so that way I don't get the second check in, and then gonna swing in with the Arauramon, which will go down to the Gundramon. So empty board now, but I can play the Otamamon to at least get 1 rookie on board and put my opponent at just 1 memory, really limiting their options for this turn and making it so that I have yet another 5k rookie on board, which is going to be good because if I can swing in what we're looking at here, if I swing in and survive, then none of the Digimon on the opposing side of the board can actually swing over my Otamamon. So it does live, which I'm very happy about, because now they either have to play a high cost option to clear the board, or they're going to have to find some sort of Digivolution to go into, such as maybe Rebellimon. And I get another Agumon on board as well as my tie, so that way my Agumon coming out next turn will give me an extra memory and a draw and potentially go into Bond. The Ginkaku Promote's going to come out, and that is going to give my opponent the DP they need to swing over this Otamamon, which is super important, because if they weren't able to clear off the Otamamon, then going into next turn I would have 3 Digimon to their 2 checks, and they would have to get lucky and hit something in security. But now I'm going to go up. I'm thinking about what I want to do. I would like to go into Bond here, but the thing is if I go into Bond, I'm going to have to trash my top 2 security, and then my opponent's going to have enough Digimon on board to swing out. So I'm thinking about, with my hand, how am I going to go about clearing this so my opponent doesn't have a game next turn. I figured out I can just go into the Bond here and trash my top 2, swing in with the Bond, get rid of the Deputymon so my opponent doesn't have a black source on board, so they can't play things like Veltformer if I want to go wide on board. But I am going to play the Biomon out here and swing. Going to go ahead and trash the Deputymon, and then which will trash the top security and get that second check in. I shouldn't have played the Biomon there. That was a mistake. I should have played it after I swung, but now I'm able to play the Starmons to give -3k to the Gazimon, and now my opponent only has 3 Digimon to my 3 security, so they can't go in for game. So the Starmon's really coming in clutch, being able to save me here. Now my opponent is going to have to draw 1, trash 1 with their Demi-Meramon, which was what their thought process was right there. Now going into their turn, they're going to have to swing in, see what they hit. Gonna hit the Agunimon, which is a card that I would prefer to have, because if my opponent clears the board and starts going up with blockers, I'm gonna want those Agunimons on top of my tie so I can get those extra swings in. But we're gonna see my opponent keep swinging in. The Ogremon will go down to the Otamamon, and then my opponent's gonna Digivolve into the Rebellymon here, which will give them a blocker. They are gonna have to trash a card here, getting rid of the Deputymon, but being able to Fly Bullet the Biomon, and then that makes it so I am at 7 memory, which is kind of irrelevant since I am a rookie rush deck, but it does make it so that I can't just swing in for game because there is the blocker now there. But I play the tie, I play the Aramon and pass the turn because I don't have any other cards to fill out my hand, because my hand is just 2 Bonds of Bravery right now. So as of right now, I do know that with the 2 Bonds of Braveries and the 2 mats, or the 2 ties on the field, no matter what, I'm going to be able to go into my next turn at a minimum of 3 memory, and then go into the Bond. And if my opponent does want to go into a blocker or anything like that, then I can just go in for game anyway. But as of right now, my opponent is looking a little rough because they have to both set up a blocker and clear the board out, and so they're going to go into Gundramon. This does get the blocker, but they're going to have to hit Gvelschformer to clear the board. They hit the Trump Sword, and then the very last card they're going to hit is the Nailbone. So the Nailbone will allow them to bring out another blocker in the Vilemon, but there is just not enough going on. They only have 2 blockers to my 3 attacks, and I can go into the Bond here, which will allow me to attack, pop the Gundramon, and then they will have to block with the Vilemon, but then I have 2 more checks, so my opponent just scoops it up once they see the Bond there. Not that it really mattered, but with that being said, that is going to be this match. This deck is way more aggressive than I really expected, and it's a little bit better than I really gave it credit when I first built it. I thought this was just going to kind of be a meme deck, but the offensive pressure and the speed of this deck is just absolutely insane, and being able to get rid of blockers with Bond of Bravery's when attacking effect is also really good. But with that being said, that is going to be this match for today. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'm going to be having all kinds of BT6 content coming for you. So I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you have a great day, hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and peace out.